How could Warren Buffett get this so wrong? It's crazy to me, man. Just what? So I was listening to Warren Buffett on some podcast or something he did the other day. It's just a clip. And I was like, I don't know, someone was in CNBC or something like that. And Warren Buffett's like, look, if you want to sell stocks because of volatility, you obviously shouldn't be in the markets. You know what I'm saying? You'd never sell your house. If your house was worth $20,000 and it went down to $15,000, you'd never sell your house. And inherently that's true. And I get the sentiment. Of course, you have a house provides you a shelter, so it's a little bit different. I actually can't stand that analogy. You'd never sell your house if it was down down to $15,000 from $20,000. Yeah, well, the stock doesn't provide you shelter. Okay, anyway, that's a dumb one. But even worse, stocks are less risky the longer you own them than bonds. And nothing could be further from the truth. I cannot believe it. The stocks for the long run thing. That's Jeremy Siegel's book, and I got the 3 editions of the book, and I love that book. So I've learned so much from it, but it's just inherently not true. The longer you own bonds, the less risky they are because the closer to maturity they become. As long as the bond doesn't go kaput, you're going to get your money back. That's guaranteed. And even if it went kaput, in theory, you have some assets from the sale of the company if it went bankrupt to basically somewhat not quite make you whole, but to make you somewhat whole. Now, that's not likely to happen, but still, how many bonds go bankrupt? Very, very few. Government bonds never do. So let's just use long-term U.S. Treasury government bonds. The longer you hold them, all right, the less risky they become because the closer to maturity they become. What? Warren Buffett, you got to know that. Stocks always have the same risk as they had yesterday. Well, you might even say they have less risky because the market went down. So right now, stocks are less risky because the markets are down 20%. Okay, I get that. They still have the same risk to go to default. If I own them for 20 years, the risk of default doesn't change. What? If I own a bond for 20 years, the risk of default doesn't change either, because unless it goes bankrupt, it will pay at 100% of par value at maturity. And if it's a government bond, because we know government bonds don't go default, guess what? I know for a fact I get my money back, and the longer I own that government bond, the less volatility there is anyway as I get closer and closer to maturity. A 30-year government bond that was just issued today has much more volatility than a 10-year bond, than a 30-year bond that's only got 10 years left to maturity. All right? Just fact, because a 10-year bond, essentially the 10-year bond, is less risky than a 30-year bond because there's less volatility. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the longer I hold them, the less risky they become because they're getting closer and closer to maturity where I get my par value back and there's less volatility as well. What? Stocks are less risky for the longer you own them? It's crazy. Stocks are, but this is what actually ticks me off too about these, and I hate it when the pro-Republican side does it. I hate it when the pro-Democrat side. The stock market is not an arbitrator of the economy. It's just not. It's never been. It's stupid. Ronald Reagan did not create 4 million jobs, whatever the hell it is. Biden did not create 4 million jobs. The president doesn't create jobs. I just hate that stuff. And the market doesn't say, hey, the economy's doing well or not. It's just not. It's stupid. I've always hated it. You can't say the economic output is good because of stocks. It's just stupid. Part 2 of this, though, which drives me crazy, is people say, oh man, I'm down 20%. I'm nervous. Where were you 10 years ago? Well, I'm up 280% from where I was 10 years ago. But 3 weeks ago I was up 300%. That's where stocks for the long run come in. They say, yeah, but if you look at where you were 10 years ago, you're way up from where you are today. But very few people look at it like that. And the worst is the professional investment class, the Bill Ackmans of the world, the Jeremy Granthams and all this stuff. The ones that are, I should throw Jeremy Grantham in there, I don't know. But Bill Ackman's certainly freaking out about where the markets are today. I say, wait, I thought stocks for the long run. Bill Ackman, you've been a stockholder for many, many years. So why would this 20% decline bother you? Because stocks are less risky for the long run, is what we're told to believe. And it's the professionals that never follow their own words. They're the ones freaking out. Anyway, the stock that you have today regardless if you started with $100, is now $1,000, or if you started with $100, it's now $80, has the same amount of risk today that it did yesterday. It's just because a stock can always go bankrupt, which is why you don't want stock. You want mutual funds or indexes to cover your bases, to say, hey, this one stock won't destroy me. This one Tesla stock, Amazon stock, Nvidia stock, I don't care what it is, it won't destroy me. Because stocks are always as aggressive, as risky as they were just yesterday. Now, again, you could say price volatility becomes less the longer you own them, and that's just not true either. In fact, from a pure cash perspective, the amount of money at risk becomes larger the longer you own stocks, because most likely the stocks have gone up. So your value at risk, or what they call it, is it value at risk? Variable, I think it's value, I can't remember. VAR, I forgot what it stands for. But your value at risk in terms of the actual dollar gets higher the longer you own them, because you have more money now in your portfolio than you did 5, 10, 15 years ago. So inherently the value at risk is higher. Now you could say, well, my actual risk is lower from where I was 15 years ago, but no one thinks about that like that. They just think about right now, what is my stocks doing? Oh, they're cratering. That's risky. I don't like it. So anyway, I'm probably not describing it. It drives you up the wall. Because stock investors are forever. They never reach the long term. They're always in the short term. Unless you can convince yourself to say, I don't care what the market's doing. I don't need this money today. It matters not at all. I don't even pay much mind to it. If you can do that, you're fine. No, I can't guarantee you that. But for instance, we know that if you don't pay attention to the market, you're not going to be all freaking. You're just like, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Because I don't need this money today. And when I need the money is when I want to worry about this. And as such, I put up 4 years cash to the barbell, diversified portfolio, don't hold all my chips in one stock. That's stupid. But even then, stocks are just as risky as they were 5, 10, 15 years ago. In fact, more risky when it comes to the actual dollars at stake. So the whole idea is stocks for the long run, stocks are less risky the longer you own them. It's just not true, man. I mean, you just look at any company, Bethlehem Steel that's gone bankrupt, Enron's gone bankrupt. I'm just looking at any company. The longer you held a stock did not make them less risky. That just did not. It's dumb. But the longer you hold a bond, it absolutely makes them less risky. And the idea Warren Buffett doesn't know this is stupid. But the whole point about the money managers, they throw out these little tidbits, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. No, it doesn't, dude. See, this thing of economists and financial gurus, the real world is different than what their freaking models say. And the real world is what you should always use to draw on your expectations for the future. Because the real world matters. It does. The models, the graphs, that doesn't mean crap. The real world matters. In the real world, you have real people who get nervous when the market is down 25%. You can sit there and say all day long, yeah, but stocks the long run. Okay. People are getting nervous. Money managers freaking out. I mean, you shouldn't get nervous because it doesn't matter, dude. There's nothing you can do about it anyway. I mean, what are you going to do? You yell at Wall Street, yell at Trump, and that's just dumb. I mean, the only thing you can do is, like Warren Buffett says, look, if this makes you nervous, you probably shouldn't be in stocks to begin with. I completely agree with that. But all right, love your thoughts. God bless. We'll see you. Smash that like button. I just dropped my calculator.